G'day folks, I'm Steve, your host of Homegrown Hunter TV. I'm at my Rock Ridge Outfitters here in Iowa, hunting some giant whitetail deer. There's lots to be seen on this farm, so stay tuned to today's show. We're going to have a good time.
Adventures in the outdoors are to be embraced, passed down to our children to enjoy the bounty that Mother Nature has to offer in its organic form. As the seasons pass, the pursuit of our quarry changes, and we as hunters gather to celebrate the success of our hunt. Learning from our mistakes and teaching our children. We cannot always build their future, but we can build the youth for the future. That is what the Homegrown Hunter is all about. Welcome as we share our experiences, our lessons, and our good eats.
Homegrown Hunter TV is brought to you by Rack Stacker, Canada's leader in big game attractants. Gambleford Chrysler, a small town dealer with a huge inventory. And Huckabones Equipment, Ottawa Valley's Kubota dealer. Altan Outdoor Solutions, Badlands Packs and Apparel. Bishop Lake Outdoors, Spy Point Trail Cameras. First Place Trailers, the original portable winch. And these other fine partners.
Welcome back to another great show of the Homegrown Hunter TV. This one's action-packed, folks. We're going to head down to Iowa and hunt over some food plots with our good friend Jim Irvin. Jim's a deer manager on a big property down there that's got some monster whitetail deer. Now, with that being said, we're going to go back to the Rack Stacker farm and we're going to show you from scratch how to start a food plot using an implement called the Groundhog Max. Then we're going to show you some of the activity we got on those food plots. Then later at the end of the show, we're going to show you how to properly maintain the hide to ensure that your taxidermist is happy with you and cuts back on your costs. You're going to want to stay tuned to the end of the show. Hope you enjoy. What's exciting about hunting Iowa is that the food plots have a lot of pulling power and you're bound to see a lot of activity around them. These young bucks made for some great decoys and realistic rattling to get other deer's attention, as well as some entertainment value while we were sitting in the stand. We're going to be hunting out of elevated box blinds that overlook some pretty cool valleys in the area, giving us a great vantage point. This is a buck that is well known on the farm. They've called him Sawblade. We spotted him from afar. While watching Sawblade, we actually had gotten caught by this giant buck that came into our right. That got the old heart going until he ran out of sight. Now knowing that there's some giant bucks in the area, the next day we had headed out to the other side of the farm. I wanted to get my own camera set up on a fresh spot to see if these Midwestern bucks like the Rack Stacker original. Since Rack Stacker's inception in 2007, we've been North America's leading big game mineral. With spring just around the corner, we're in full production with our customer favorites, Blaze, Glory, Stacked, and Heavyweight for whitetail deer, elk, and moose. With near instant results, you could be using Rack Stacker to increase your game population on your property.
And this is Rack Stacker.
Visit rackstacker.ca for all product details and retail outlets across the continent.
You prepare for it all year long with the intent to fill your tag. strategy, setup, and long sits are all part of the game. And when Mother Nature settles in for the late season, it's important to be comfortable. Not even her elements can stop you from obtaining your end goal. Don't jeopardize that opportunity. Get yourself into an Altan ground blind or tree stand. Altan Outdoors, your first front in the hunt. And now, this week's Cut to the Chase segment, brought to you by Rack Stacker.
It's mid-July, we're on the Rack Stacker farm, and Brian and I are planting a small food plot using what's called the Groundhog Max. The Groundhog Max is a perfect piece of implement that can go on the back of any side-by-side or single-up four-wheeler to get your food plots done way off the beaten path. It's got a set of gangs that goes into your reese hitch, and there's also kits that are available for other machines that may not have a 2-inch reese hitch. Now the way this works, it takes the weight of the machine and digs down into the ground in order for you to turn the soil. What I had planted here in the springtime was peas and oats to help erosion and to help build soil quality. Now what I'm going to be doing is planting a product called Biggins Radish from Rack Stacker. Biggins Radish is a larger seed head, and it will be disked into the ground using the Groundhog Max so it gets instant germination and highest productivity. You can see with this thatchy stuff from the early part of the spring that was now dead. I sprayed it about a week ago and then bush hogged it last night. It's going to help keep the seed in place. It's also going to help retain moisture during the growing season. With Biggins Radish, it only takes a couple of days, 4 or 5 tops to germinate. As long as it gets a bit of moisture, it'll take right off. Once the greens actually start to take root, it'll canopy out and take in as much nutrient and moisture value as well as get as much production before the fall. So you only need about 6 to 8 weeks of growing before the deer start hitting it in the fall. This Groundhog Max is doing a perfect job. If you've got a food plot that's off the beaten path and you need something to get in there, the Groundhog Max is perfect for it. You'll also notice that the tires, when he goes back over the same spot, it's actually packing it down. So when you pack it down, you're actually ensuring that your seeds get good seed to soil contact, which is important. So you're actually doing 2 things at once. You're working it up, and then the second pass around, you're packing the seed into the ground. A little bit of rain and away she goes. Check out rackstacker.ca in the food plot section for the Groundhog Max. I'm really impressed with this unit. When transporting the Groundhog Max, you can pull it out of your reese, flip it upside down, travel to your next food plot. When you get there, put down your 6x6 blocks underneath your tire. I've got it cut at about a 30-degree angle. You back your side-by-side up, flip it upside down, attach it. Once you're attached, lock your pins. When you pull off of this, it actually pushes the Groundhog Max down into the ground using the weight of the machine to work your food plot. Works out awesome. Time to get another plot done. Now it turns out that while I was getting a plot set up in the bush, the trail camera was set to video. Take a look at the time. Now this plot measures 80 yards wide by 20 yards deep. It's not a big plot, but it's perfect for a staging area. By going back and forth across the plot, working the location about 2 inches deep, I can expose the soils enough to get the seed down and start the growing process. In less than 15 minutes, I pretty well had it ready for seed. And honestly, that's all it takes. 15 minutes, you got yourself a plot. Give it a try today. Check out rackstacker.ca.
Spy Point Trail Cameras, the official trail camera of the Homegrown Hunter TV and the Rack Stacker Elite staff. Centrally located between Toronto and Ottawa is Eastern Ontario's premier supplier of all-purpose cargo trailers. At First Place, we sell specialty trailers such as car haulers, quad trailers, snowmobile trailers, or customize your own by coming to see us for all your accessory needs. We also specialize in the complete stealth lineup, located just south of the 401 in Brighton, Ontario. Visit firstplacetrailer.ca. Located in Cloyne, Ontario, Bishop Lake Outdoors is the largest Browning gun and accessory dealer in the area. Bishop Lake Outdoors has a large selection of guns to choose from, including rifles, muzzle loaders, shotguns, and it's the area's only authorized Excalibur dealer. Celebrating 20 years in business serving the community. Stop in and see the staff at Bishop Lake Outdoors.
Before the commercial break, I was explaining to you a product called Biggins Radish. Biggins Radish is to be planted sometime around the end of July and early August in Ontario. Now, we did plant this late July, and we were expecting a heavy rainfall. Unfortunately, we didn't get it. In fact, we didn't get rain for about 3 weeks afterwards. So what I chose to do, because I lost that 3 weeks worth of growing time, I put a thin coat of Field Edge, which is another brassica variety, on top of the Biggins Radish. That 3 days of heavy rainfall made things explode. Now let me show you the results of Rack Stacker food plots. You'll see a slight color difference in the leaves. If it's red or purple, it's due to plant stress because of the lack of fertilizer. The plant will still grow and the deer will still eat it. It's just not going to maximize the growth. It's a good idea to follow the fertilizer instructions to maximize this growth. It was a little too late for me to get this done. That's what she's all about right there. Now imagine if that had 3 extra weeks of growth. A little bit warmer this week, it'll get bigger yet. Here's another one. There we go. They're not too bad considering they're 4 weeks old. Now these are the types of results you can expect with Rack Stacker food plots. It doesn't take a lot to put them in the ground. All you need to do is make sure they get good seed to soil contact and lots of moisture. Now because we lost 3 weeks worth of growth because there was no moisture in the soil, I went to another food plot and picked up some leaves to show you the type of growth difference that 3 weeks makes. Now these leaves here came from a food plot that had lots of moisture in a lower part of my farm. I'm going to pick a couple here. That's the type of growth that we have behind us right now. So in 3 weeks time, with enough heat between 20 and 24 degrees, it'll go from this size to that size, dramatically increasing your production and your tonnage of forage in the food plot. Now the cool thing is with brassicas is the deer typically don't start hitting it until a frost. When I mean a frost, I'm talking -5, not -1 or a light frost. We need a hard, deep frost. It turns all those starches to sugars, and that's when the deer really start piling in here and start pawing it all up to the winter time. So as the snow and the winter sets in, you better hope you get yourself a tree stand close by. And remember that this is Rack Stacker.
Closed captioning has been brought to you by the original portable winch. Compact, lightweight, and can be carried anywhere.
Do you remember the spot that I put the Rack Stacker original out? Well, we got a shooter buck in daylight, and he's got a big brother with him. I put out some entice, and we got ready for the evening sit. The shooter that I was after was on his way across the field straight at us. His big brother showed up as well, but he was not on the hit list. Jim wanted me to give him another year to see what his full potential was like. This is a giant 4.5-year-old buck. Now trust me, I was tempted to make it happen, but as a guest on this farm, I just had to watch him feed.
Okay. I'll tell you one thing I didn't Ready? She's 94 yards. She's the one that's walking right to left. Right, yeah, she's right there, broadside. Yep, I'm on her. I'll wait till she gets in front of the camera. Okay, there's another deer behind that, eh? Yep. Okay. Two deer in 15 minutes. I shot my buck. More does and fawns come out, but because we're on a management farm, Jim gave me the green light to take a doe home too. There's still about 20 minutes left, so I'm gonna put Ty in the seat and see if he can shoot himself a doe to take home to his family.
This buck came out behind us the other day and I was pretty bummed out. The winds were high, it was raining, and we had some other friends on one side of the property and we were at the other end of the property later on in the afternoon, and I just kind of gave up. I just kind of like the bum of the camp. But I never thought I'd have another crack at him, but we poured that entice earlier today. You could see the deer were all over it. The Rock Ridge Outfitters has been using entice for the last couple of years along with our mineral, and obviously you see the results that you're going to get with the whitetail deer mineral that we offer through Rack Stacker. So if you want results, guys, year-round management's where it's at. That's wicked.
This is outdoor country, and this is Help Out Your Neighbor country. Hi, I'm Tom Wallace from Campbellford Chrysler, where we support Homegrown Hunter TV. We believe in our local community. We're committed to our customers. We take our vehicles as seriously as you do your hunting. We're here to make you look good and get through that rough terrain. If we don't have the new or used vehicle you're looking for, we'll get it at the price that will keep you coming back. Come home to the small town dealership with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Campbellford Chrysler, Grand Road South. Proud supporter of Homegrown Hunter TV.
Huckabone's equipment in Cobden, Ontario has received multiple excellence awards for service, quality, and selection. When it comes to Kubota equipment in the Ottawa Valley, Huckabones is your go-to. You can rely on Kubota to get the job done year-round. From excavators, lawnmowers, to compact tractors, Huckabones goes the distance to ensure customer satisfaction. Be sure to check out huckabones.com to see their full line of quality equipment.
Welcome back to the Homegrown Hunter TV. On today's tech tip, I'd like to share a couple of details of what I like to do with my trophy prior to going to the taxidermist. Just a couple of quick tips I'll share with you in order to keep a deer properly so that your taxidermist is happy and hopefully saves you some costs. Now, with that being said, it does get a little graphic, so just be forewarned. Before skinning or caping any animal, you want to decide on what you're going to be doing with your animal. This one here, I'm actually going to be doing a half body mount, so I'm going to cape it right down through the front legs. A lot of the time, because I've got some taxidermist friends, they often say that the capes don't have enough fur on them. So it's important to give them lots to work with because they've got to wrap around the back of the pedestal or potentially wrap your taxidermy mount. So come back about halfway down the back of the ribs. I'm actually going to start about the back of the ribs and start caping that way, all the way down through the front shoulders. And then at the front of the leg, stop around his armpit, and you want to come down the front of the line. So the difference between the brown hair and the white hair, I always cut along that white line, so then therefore they don't have to worry about stitching. And if there is any stitching involved there, then the brown can blend in with the white hair and you're not going to see that on your mount. It does take a bit of time and practice. I'm going pretty quick, but be careful not to cut the hide. That's only going to cost you more to fix and more for the taxidermist work. By you pulling down on the hide, it will loosen the skin and separate it from the body. You also want to make sure that you don't damage any meat. This of course will be cut later for your family, and you want it to be clean. Just keep making your way around the hide. So normally what I used to do with my taxidermy stuff is I would start from the shoulder plate and then cut a line through the hide all the way to the back of the skull. But what that does is it actually ends up creating more work and more cost to you, but I don't do that anymore. I've got some taxidermy friends that showed me a trick. Let me show you right from the skull. Now that I've peeled the hide right up over his shoulder blades, I didn't create any cuts along the back of the skull. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a T or a Y from the back of the skull plate. I'm gonna take a thin knife, and it's really handy because you can tuck in behind the skull plate, go to the back of the head or between the antlers and create a T. Then you start using a screwdriver to cut around the antlers and peel that skin away. And then what'll happen is you end up pulling that European mount or the skull out from the back, not creating any cuts, and it saves stitching and cost to you when you go to the taxidermist. Now you want to take your time around the pedicle. This is the base of the antler. I like using the flathead screwdriver as it's longer and helps me to get into the tight spots. Keep your blade tight to the bone to ensure you don't cut the hide, and again, make your way around. And all these inner eyelids are all, see that? So they'll do what they call the turn the lips, and they'll turn the ears. And there's only a little thin, they actually want that piece, believe it or not. They'll skin this off and keep that flap so they can curl it inside the eye. So instead of cutting this lip off, just go straight to the bone and leave all that attached. Again, put your thumb in there and just start pulling. And just keep it right tight to the bone. Just keep working it around and right to the bone. Okay, so see how that's a part of his cheek. Pull right down along the bone like that. Now you're not allowed to cross back into Canada without a clean skull. This will prevent CWD transfer or chronic wasting disease. This is very important when coming back from a U.S. hunt. There. Right at the bridge of his nose is all cartilage. You can cut right through it. And that's his nose, right along the bottom lip. Just slowly peel that away, again against the bone. Peel that back. Okay, done. So now that you've got them all caped out and skinned, you want to cool them as quick as possible. Now I've got mine in a cooler right now. You want to put skin on skin to keep the moisture in it. You can salt it if you wish, I choose not to. I'm gonna let this sit for a couple of hours, and once it's cool, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna pick the head up, fold it into itself, put that into a bag, and freeze it solid. I try and keep it flat. That way, if they have to take any measurements, the head is right on top and it doesn't create any hot spots, and you want to cool it as quick as possible. Get it to your taxidermist with your skull, and they'll take care of the rest.
For past episodes, be sure to check out hghtv.ca. Until next time.